Spooky Tuesday.
I don't know. I just think that people who believe in true love are fucking idiots.
So dumb.
They are.
They're so dumb.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff.
And this week we are doing something hot off the presses. It only has been out for, at this time, less than a month. We're really hip. We're really happening. We're really in the now here at Spooky Tuesday.
The
and this week-
zeitgeist.
the zeitgeist. We're part of the conversation. And the movie this week is 2022's Fresh.
Oh, I put 2021 in my notes because I guess I'm still still at that
No.
part of the year where you don't know the date.
It's March.
It will be April by the time
It will
this
be
episode comes out.
April. We're getting close to the halfway point of the year already.
I know to go back to 5th grade where you have to write your name and date on everything because then I lock it in better. You know what I mean? If I'm doing it every day. But
I feel that. I still write my
Tragic.
name and the date at the top of every report I get at work.
nice.
So maybe that's why I'm impressed.
You're like, I know that it's 2022. I'm an expert. So
I've got it down. I don't ever know what day it is though. I have to check on my
Sure.
phone first.
I'm
But
good at
anyway,
the days of the week. But yeah, let's charge ahead.
anyway, we're doing Fresh. We're hip. We're happening. We know what year it is. And if you haven't seen this movie yet, here's the IMDb log line. I think it's very fun. The horrors of modern dating seen through one young woman's defiant battle to survive her new boyfriend's unusual appetites. I like it.
Okay.
As somebody who is trying to date,
Uh-huh.
this-
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus.
Oh
Yeah.
God, this and as somebody who's had a bad time dating, because dating,
Uh-huh.
this movie struck a chord, especially the first date scene.
Oh
Where,
God.
Chad.
They matched on Hinge. Because he's wearing the horrible scarf, so he just looks like he'd be a Hinge guy.
He looks
Stop.
like a metrosexual.
Tell me
and
I'm
I
lying.
mean that in a
Tell
mean
me
way.
I'm lying.
Yeah, I didn't think about how triggering that would be for
Yeah, Monica,
you
who's
and
been in a
those-
nice relationship for what, almost 8 years now? Gonna be 8 years.
almost. Yeah, it's about to be
Yeah.
8.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This movie, so many triggers on so many different levels, and it just
Mhm.
hits the ball running with Chad.
Oh,
And
God.
Stupid Michael from Jane the Virgin. I can't
Oh,
believe
I
he
don't
would
know
do
who
this
he
to
is.
me. Because I hate to say it, but I was a Michael girl by the end of that show. They did a good job
Didn't
always
watch
convincing
it.
me to be whoever, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Michael's a cop, so boo, that's bad. But he really betrayed me when he took this role. And I don't know why he
He
would do
did
this
it.
to me.
He did a really good job of making
Yeah, he
me
did.
want to pound his face into the pavement. Violent thoughts. Like the immediate text with the hey, this place is cash only. Wow. Set the
And then,
I
Like-
liked that in that moment, it was like they didn't clearly lay out exactly what happened, but my hypothesis is that she got the task. That's when she gasps or rolls her eyes or whatever, and then you hear
Yeah.
clicking sounds. That's her sending it directly to her bestie, who immediately
yeah.
knows. And I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that.
100%.
She's immediately ready to talk shit.
They
She
do
was
a
swiping
great.
before she even showed up, so she knew that he was trash.
Oh yeah. And I really like that I think they do a good job of setting up how deep the friendship is at the beginning, even though
Mhm.
it's very brief. I know we have a whole 30 minutes, only 30 minutes. Well, it's a long time. There's 30 minutes of this movie before the title card comes, and it's so brilliant, and we'll get into that more later. But most of that first 30 minutes is not focused on Noah and Molly. But you get enough to be like, yeah, they're like ride or dies, and we love them. And also, Molly is so good. I love her in this. She's wonderful.
One, I love Molly because she is just like flat out open bisexual representation.
Yes.
Yes.
She is incredible. And again, bisexuals are the best. You know,
I've always said
B
that,
for best.
Yeah.
B
Yeah,
for
that's is what it
best.
stands
B
for.
for best.
Uh-huh.
That's what it stands for. Sorry.
No, I know. I mean,
You
it's
don't
a
make
B.
the rules.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty easily spelled out for you, literally spelled out for you. So I don't know what else you're wanting here. One thing I just want to note really quickly, when he asks for this fizzy water, I wanted to yeet myself out the window.
How does this man suck, be racist, suck, and then be a dick?
And then he wants to talk shit about oversized baggy sweatshirts. Sir,
Oh my god, you would
Let me
look
wear
so
comfy
good in
clothes.
something more feminine. Never tell me how to
my mommy wore
fucking
dresses.
dress.
So clearly everybody should be like my mommy. Go to therapy.
Yeah,
But-
Jesus Christ.
Here's the thing. What made me honestly irate was he made her buy her own dinner and then he took her leftovers.
Ready to fight. Ready to fight. Ready to fight.
was
I
like,
would
you
have
know
been like,
what?
no, I'm gonna eat that shit later. I'm gonna eat that when I'm high in the middle of the night.
Oh,
I would not have told him that his scarf was in the noodles. I would let that scarf marinate in those noodles.
I would have
Oh.
ripped it. I would have pulled him down by the scarf and smashed him into his own plate of food and then took mine and run out the door. No, I wouldn't have done that, but I would have thought about doing it later. I'm not a violent person.
Later, when
Per
you're
se.
replaying it in your brain, yeah. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. When I'm ruminating about it all evening long.
But then, he becomes like a dick because, they leave and
Classic.
she does the whole like, yeah, this is definitely not going to work. And he's like, well, you're not even my type and you're a bitch. And which happens so frequently.
Oh God. I've had something very similar happen. Not the being called a bitch part, but the part where the date was so very clearly uncomfortable and bad. And then you're like, okay, got it, bye.
They
And
still
they're
try to
like
go for the
somehow
kiss.
thinking this is a kiss time. Somehow this is the time for the kiss. I was
Yeah.
like, no.
Mhm.
Oh, no.
And
like-
sometimes you have to say out loud, no. And then they go, oh, no. kiss? And it's like,
I was like,
I thought it would have
no.
been clear, but I'll spell it out for you if we must.
Oh my God. I said to this guy, I was like, I don't kiss on the first date. And then he tried to convince me that this was actually our second date. And I was like, no, the first time
sweetie.
was when we met. And that was not a date, actually, shockingly. Oh God. Wonder where he is now.
Yeah. But this movie is really good at showing like the fraught realities of dating in general. And also the kind of just like the fear that you carry in some ways being a woman moving through the world. Like not just the date sucking and being terrible and being like, I want to delete all dating apps forever. But also when she's walking to her car afterwards, and she's like scared and she's like kind of hustling down the alleyway, and then she like drops her keys and she's starting to get really nervous, and then it's just like a guy carrying a baby, and it's like, but you don't know, and it could be anything. And when you're not on your guard, all of a sudden it's like, well, why weren't you on your guard? And it's like, okay, well, can I just exist in this space, please?
Totally. And it she shows how much she is on her guard, how much she is looking out for herself, how she is guarded all the time. Because she's taking self-defense classes with Molly. We have that scene in the beginning where she establishes that she's very conscious of her surroundings. And then the one time she says, fuck it. Man.
Okay.
Man, not fair.
Here's the thing too. When Noah meets Steve, because we see this like horrible first date, and like we have all been there, and you're always just like, I want a meet cute, and that's what this is. You're just like, you want to meet somebody over produce at like the Trader Joe's, because Trader Joe's is the horniest grocery store known to
It's
man.
established. Yeah.
It's a known
established.
fact.
Also,
And
cotton candy grapes are really good.
they're
That's
delicious.
great.
He does a really good job of like being very disarming on every front in that conversation, but just in general, like Sydney's saying, you're totally right. Like the disillusionment with dating apps, like dating apps are so shitty. Look, so many people I know have met their boyfriend or girlfriend or spouse or whatever on dating apps. Like they absolutely work, but also they're so tiring, and also I hate them.
They're
and
overstimulating
it's-
to me. Like I get like really
Yes.
stressed out, and I'm just like, no, sorry, can't do this. Like, bye. And then I turn off notifications, and then I'll have like all these things, and then I'm like, oh, we're just gonna delete this because I am overwhelmed. Good day.
And it's also just there's something that kind of like wears down your humanity a little bit over time. If you're
Mhm.
looking at a full ass human and you're swiping left or you're swiping right, you know, you're like,
And it's like
yes,
you've
no,
got
it's
this
literally
menu
like,
of people, essentially. Not to make it a food thing again, but you've got this long list
it
where
is
you're
all
like,
a food
I'll
thing.
swipe yes or no, and then there's another person waiting right behind them in the queue. So
Yeah.
it's like you look at a dating app, it doesn't feel like people are like real people in a way yet.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to be like, I give up, I'm deleting the apps, I just want to meet somebody in person, and when it happens, and I get it. I'm there right now. I deleted Hinge a couple of days ago because some stupid guy pissed me off.
Ugh.
Because he did a funny bit on his voice memo, and then he messaged me and I responded to his funny bit, and then he unmatched me. Like, do you want to do a little bit or not? Commit to your bit. But
If
whatever.
you're gonna put
I'm
an
allowed
audio
it.
message, you gotta put your money where your mouth is there. You just use the memo. You got a memo back. What an ass. What
I
an
didn't
ass.
even, I used my regular typing words to just be part of the bit. He didn't like it, I guess. That's on me. I'm too funny and sexy and cool.
You
But
That's a
funny and
weeder.
sexy
That was a
and cool.
weeder.
yeah. He
can't hang.
took himself out. That's fine. Didn't waste my time.
Also,
That's great.
Noah is like hot on the tails of getting an unsolicited dick pic at
Yes.
this point in the
From
film.
a dog, from the guy whose picture was
With
just
the
the dog.
They
And
lured
here's
him
the
with
Traffic.
the
You
dog.
think you can trust somebody?
As somebody who received an unsolicited dick pic this very day,
Oh my God.
very day, from
Was it the one
Monica.
that I sent you?
Okay.
I accidentally it was my first time ever sending an unsolicited dick pic. And it didn't feel good on my end either.
Who? I want it.
Normally what I do if I get unsolicited dick pics, I
Huh?
will Venmo or like Apple thing them for $50. Like, you've gotta pay me for it. Like, sorry about
Thank you
It's
for
it.
a-
not
it's-
charging me.
Yeah. You get one freebie, Monica.
Yeah, that's
I
what I
did
said. I'm like,
ask.
Monica, she asked for the second time.
I was like, hey, there's one more that's really funny though. Can I send one more?
There's one more that's really funny. Do I have your consent?
Literally, that's how it went.
Anyway,
We're talking about fresh.
fresh.
Back to fresh.
Oh man, and he also did such a great job, Steve/Brendan, I guess. Did such a great
guess.
job being disarming, like you said, because he like was a fuck up, you know, like his line was
Mm-hmm.
the stupidest thing that anyone's ever heard. Hey, do you live around here? Because I do. I live in aisle 6. Like, literally,
Yeah.
like, oh God.
Every time he asked something that you could tell, like, put her like back on her hackles a little bit, he was like, "Oh yeah, I live on aisle 6." And like, I think mentioning a sister and a niece, like making them female relatives for one, is like in particular disarming. Trying to be like, "Oh, I'm cool with girls. I've got
I
you know
know
how men are
about
always like, I
women.
can't be a woman hater. I've got a sister and a daughter. Like, whatever." That's
Yes.
him.
You could tell that he's done this before and does this for a living, you know. But yeah, I mean, something that I thought was really, really interesting, and I don't know if I don't remember how this was marketed because I knew that it was coming out, but I didn't think about it that much. And then
Mhm.
the weekend it came out, I saw like all over Twitter all these horror people that I like saying that they loved it. And so I knew it was going to be a horror movie. But imagine a world where you didn't know that this was going to be a horror movie and how epic the fucking 30-minute in title card sequence would have been. Like, I just want to live in a world for a second where I didn't know what was coming. And I could have just been like, oh, a new romantic comedy from Mimi Cave, you know?
Yeah. I think if you didn't know it was a horror movie and you watched this, you would have grounds to sue for emotional damages and distress.
Oh, yeah, true.
But I think if you knew it was a horror movie and not what kind of horror movie and got to that point, right, where he drugs her, she slumps to the ground, title cards, which, by the way, gorgeous, and the way they're
Love
doing
them.
the credits and the title cards and the camera angle is like as though you're being carried through the house. Incredible, gorgeous, so smart, so cool. There's a lot of really great and very
I
cool
didn't
cinematography
get that.
in this.
Yeah, the cinematography
but-
was unreal in this, and the music. We'll get into the sound design.
Yeah. But if you didn't know what it was about, I imagine that would be like a very cool horror setup to be like, what comes next? But unfortunately for me, the first thing I knew about this movie was that it was a cannibalism movie. Because I saw lots of Army Hammer jokes. So
I had no idea what this movie was about.
You didn't? Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, tell me what your experience
What
was.
did you feel?
One, scared?
I was violently high too. Like,
oh no!
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Here's this movie was the first movie that actually like gave me nightmares because like, again, I am a woman who is trying to date and I'm just like, oh my God. Like I woke up, like I watched this on a Saturday night. I woke up at 5:30 on Sunday morning in a full-blown panic attack because I had like a bad dream that I was like kidnapped and like stuck in this house. And I kept making jokes about him wanting to eat ass, which was funny and also very me,
Right.
but also like I was horrified of this, and I like woke up in like a full-blown panic.
I'm so
of
sorry.
This movie. And
I don't know.
It really gets under your skin. Like it
does.
does.
I watched it again today at work, and I was just like, like,
yeah. I actually had a much easier, better experience the second time around. I also watched it twice because I watched it last night and I gave it like a solid 85% attention. Because I just didn't want to do homework, i.e. taking notes. But I was like,
felt
let
the
me
same
get it
way
on.
last night.
Yeah. But so the first time it was like there's something so uncomfortable and like visceral about it for some reason. I can't quite pin down what it was because I've watched other cannibalism stuff, no problem. Like I was never grossed out watching Hannibal. Obviously I watch a lot of gross movies like House of Wax. It was like did give me like visceral phantom pains in my body. I have this thing where I'm watching horror movies, but especially when I'm high watching anything, where if I'm seeing something, I'm like now thinking about what if it happened to my body. And that's why House of Wax was so disturbing to me. And that's also when I was flavor blasted watching The Love Witch, why I was so scared. But I cannot imagine having that like experience being high watching this movie, because even being sober watching it with the thigh on the butcher block, it was like I could not handle it.
And here's the thing too, like I also like I eat poultry and fish, but like I don't eat beef or pork. And there's like one scene where it like shows meat being ground and like people eat it, and like
one rich guy who eats the ground meat off his plate with just his
like
mouth.
He's a little doggy.
But
He
here's
have a
the
doggy
Where
bowl.
are your utensils?
I literally hid under like a rug, like not a rug, but like a big blanket, and like hid under it while that happened, because it was just like, no,
so much.
I read all these really interesting articles that were like interviews with Mimi Cave, the director, and just to talk before I get into all of that, I just want to say I think I know what kind of director I like. And the kind of director that I like, this is the second time I've gone goo goo gaga. Spoiler alert, I fucking love this movie. This is the second time I've gone goo goo gaga over an director's debut film that was a horror film, and most of the stuff that they'd done before was music videos. And you know who the other one was? It was Ninian Doff for
Yeah.
fucking Get Duped. Okay, so Mimi Cave has done a lot of music videos before, including one for Lucius, which is a band I really like, and it's one of my favorite songs by them that she did. So she did a great job.
I mean, it makes sense because
Yeah.
in music videos, you have to rely entirely on visual storytelling because you don't have dialogue or anything like that most of the time.
Yeah.
And you only have like one song to set the mood. So you really have to be like in conversation with the music that's happening. And also they get to do fun things.
Yeah, I think it's like a interesting starting point because it's like you have to think outside of the box because you have a few fewer cards to play when you're doing a music video, unless you do something like Wake Me Up When September Ends. Of course, that's what's coming up to my mind right now, where there's like a whole mini movie at the beginning and then you get Green Day, you know. Sometimes you can do it all.
Beyonce,
but
Lady
yeah,
Gaga, Telephone.
yeah, of course.
But yeah, Mary Lambert actually, who did like Pet Cemetery and a bunch of other Halloween Town too, as well, of course.
Iconic
but
things only.
She also has done like a bunch of music videos. Like she's done like Madonna music videos, and I think like Janet Jackson music videos and stuff like that. So there's definitely a relationship there that could be really cool.
Yeah, I really like I think I like that combo pack of music video director to the music video director to feature film director pipeline. But anyway, back to what we were talking about, which was how unsettling this movie is. Like there were so many reviews that said like this movie is gruesome, gross, blah 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 blah. But when you really get down to it, there is not that much gore or violence or anything like that in the movie. And that was like intentional on the part of the director. In part of one of these, I'm going to paraphrase here, but she said that she didn't want to have the movie being focused on a bunch of women getting chopped up because we see that all the damn time. And so she was doing that thing that we all love collectively here at Spooky Tuesday, which is like giving you a little something and then leaving it all up to your ding dong imagination so you can make it as fucked up as you want in your mind's eye. It's like the horrifying monster in Cloverfield, which we need to cover that because I bring it up literally like every 5 episodes. Anyway, but yeah, she's like leaving like it all up to the imagination. Like for example, I know we're jumping around, but like the first really gruesome scene that we get is when poor Noah gets her butt removed.
Honestly, it's so horrifying. The way he keeps being like, your ass made it so much worse for some reason. Cause it really was like, he's not even talking about it in a medical sense. He's not even talking about it in like a food sense. He's just like, I'm taking your ass. It's like, no, my ass, no, please. Oh my God, it's so upsetting. He says, I gave you an epidural. Truly the most horrifying sentence one could hear.
Oh my God. And just really quick shouts out to Sebastian Stan for just absolutely bodying this role. Like he was so creepy and hot at the same time.
He's like
doing
Brendan
incredible
Fraser in Bedazzled, Elliot, but a cannibal.
What? How
Don't you think?
Like Elliot?
With all of his little like hot but fucking weird, all of his little puns that he's doing. I got for sure Bedazzled vibes, the beginning.
Oh, I think that he's like way less ick than Elliot is. Like, not like he's worse person. Let me be clear. I do not support him. But like he's sexy the whole time. You can just see that he's lost the thread.
Maybe it just wasn't for me.
Yeah. I don't know. It's whatever it is. I also like I'm obsessed with his little butt chin. Speaking of butts. But also, like, what does it mean? This is a question that I don't know how to form, but the thought is in there, and so I can't stop it.
Okay.
Does it mean that he? I'm so sorry. Does it mean that he is an ass man, that he took her ass first, or that he's not an ass man because he took that away from himself on this girl that he liked first? I'm so sorry.
It's actually a very interesting question. Because also
And one that needed to be asked. Wait,
One that
Thank
needed to be
you.
asked.
I couldn't stop thinking about
Um,
it.
it was honestly way more horrifying to me that he took her ass first and not like literally any other limb. You know what I mean? I think if he had taken her leg, I would have been less horrified than it cutting to him being like, I'm taking your ass. I
It's
also
such an
think
unexpected part of the body to
it's
go for,
yes,
you know?
which is why it's like so upsetting. It's like of all the things, you're never gonna be able to sit down the same again in your life. But it's
Yeah,
like,
and like,
he
can
does
you
it.
run and stuff? Because that's
That's my
muscles.
question. Yeah, it's like after she is acting up, and it's like he does it as sort of a punishment to a degree. He's like, I'll keep you as long as I can. And then he does this because he whatever she says, like, are you gonna be good or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'd think taking her leg or something would be a more effective deterrent if you're worried about her running or trying to fight you or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Because like we see with one of the other characters later, she has a harder time. She's, once it's taken, she's just in her little cell. She's not having PT to learn how to like walk. She doesn't have crutches or anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think it would have been hard, like just plot driven wise, if they had taken her leg. That would have been
Sure.
like really hard to keep it going. But probably he didn't take her leg because he loves to dance, and specifically with her, which we'll get into later. And he's like, "How will we do a dance?"
Sure.
Without that, unless I supply her with a what is the word? What am I trying to say? A prosthetic. Thank you. That took me a very long time.
I think he's not an ass man, to circle back. I think he's not.
And I Googled what happens if you get your ass removed. Cause like maybe the internet like had
You have
some
to
things.
Do you remember the iron butt from SpongeBob?
Anyway,
Anyway, I'm so sorry. Please continue.
But it says butt implant removal surgery. Object stuck in your rectum? Question mark.
not
5
helpful.
reasons why you should remove your ass hair.
These are all interesting
I don't-
articles. They would all get clicks from me, but
Not giving
They're
me
not
what I
helpful
want.
for the context.
where's Jeeves to ask when you need him? He would
Oh,
give you the
Jeeves.
right search results.
Oh my god. Yeah. I also want to give shine to Daisy Edgar-Jones in this, because I think she is an incredible actress. And also she was the inspiration for my haircut. And so I really appreciate that about her. But that scene when she wakes up from being drugged. Also, okay, like rewind 5 seconds. When she is getting drugged, I loved how they did that scene too, because Steve never breaks character that everything
Mhm.
is fine. And so he is gaslighting her to the last second of consciousness. He's like, why don't you come cuddle with me? Blah blah blah
Why
blah
are you so far
blah.
away?
Such a little
Yeah.
bitch.
As
Oh
somebody
my God.
who's been roofied before,
Ooh.
this does do a good job at kind of like what it is, like where you are.
I'm
just
so
like,
glad to hear that.
thank you. Where you're just like,
that's
We love
God.
accurate portrayals of
Sure.
drugs effects, like in Midsummer with shrooms, and now this.
here's the thing. I've been roofied 3 times. Would have been 4, but my college boyfriend took one for the team on that round. So thank you, Andrew, for that one.
Romantic.
Romance, but it does feel that very much where you're like, oh God, something is wrong. Oh
Mhm.
God,
But
like
what is it?
but-
Yeah.
and you're like not sure what it is. And the way that he gets her to drink this drink of being like,
Ah,
what
so like
is-
smart and bad.
and it's like, can you like figure out what I've put in it?
Uh-huh.
I immediately clocked nectarine, which was very funny.
Wow, I love that for you.
She said peach. And then he was like close. And I was like, a nectarine. And I was like, I would have been done right then. I would have been like, okay, great.
Sure.
We're moving on. But then when you wake up, you know what I mean? Like she's very like hazy, and he flat out is like, oh no, I drugged you. And she's like, no, like, come on. And then she realizes she's chained. And
that moment.
That to me is another reason why this movie like scared me as a woman who's been roofied 3 times, you know, like I've been lucky to wake up in like safe spaces, but imagine not like waking up not in a safe space. Like I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's way too close to home. Yeah. Oh man. This movie is a horror movie. It's about cannibalism, but I feel like the reasons that it is so scary and it gets so under your skin is because of like the real life themes of being a woman that it brings up, you know, in an extreme context, but like
because here's
not that extreme.
Minus the cannibalism, you know, like this could happen. Like,
and also like cannibalism does happen.
I bet there is some exotic ring of cannibalism shit like this.
Right? Like, I don't doubt that it exists.
I saw a TikTok literally earlier today of part of a girl's stand-up act where she was talking about that 2004 cannibalism case. The German guy who was like on cannibalism internet forums that no longer exist, thank God, being like, does anybody want to let me eat them? And this guy was like, I want to get eaten. And then he did, in fact, eat that guy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then don't forget about Cannibal Cop.
Oh, I say more.
There was a New York police officer who was like,
oh yeah, I read an article about that.
Cop.
What did he do? Did he eat bodies at the morgue, or did he kill people and eat them?
I don't fully remember.
Wasn't he also like,
I think he
doing
was
a sort of dating woman scheme?
He was like convicted of conspiracy to like kidnap women and eat them.
Do you
like,
know
based
what?
on like a chat room that he was in.
I didn't read an article about it. I listened to the Keep It Weird podcast episode about this like last June, maybe.
Oh, I need to listen to that. I was listening to them today, but like season 6 premiere. Shouts out to Keep It Weird.
But yeah, they did a whole episode about it, and it was so horrifying and upsetting, frankly. But yeah, you're right. It was like
kind of similar to this.
Yeah.
So now when I was like, oh, minus the cannibalism, now I'm like, oh God, now I have to worry about cannibalism. And here's the thing too. The like something that like before we realize what this movie is, like when they still have their first date and the date goes well and they go back to her house, which one, never bring a guy back to your house on the first date because then he knows where you live. Like, don't do it, like, at all.
Then if you go back to his house, you're on his turf, and that's where the dungeon could be.
There's no winning.
There's not a hotel room. Winning. The secret is public sex.
Yeah, public sex. There you go. You heard it here at Spooky Tuesday.
Just fuck in the bathroom, you guys.
Find a nice alleyway. It's fine.
It's the safest way.
God.
A car, something. But they get to her house and she's like, oh, like, can I get you anything to like eat or drink? And he was like, just you.
I hate that.
Which like is sexy when you don't realize what the fucking context is.
Like, dude, also, oh my God. There's so many little hints like that because I've watched this movie like 2.5 times now because I got like 40 minutes in and then I paused it and then the next day I started it again and Adam's like, I don't want to watch it, and I was like, okay, fucking fine. So I'm very familiar with the first 30 to 40 minutes now. But yeah, there's just so many little details. I completely missed the first time I watched this that Molly's bi. I thought that she was lesbian. I totally missed it because I just wasn't paying attention for that split second where she's like, damn, why did I stop hooking up with that hot bartender? And I couldn't figure out what the deal was. I was like, is she yanking his chain? Like the whole movie, I was confused. And I was like, oh no, they used to hook up. That's why he's so enamored with her and knows about her already because he's been in love.
I actually missed that she was bi in the opposite direction. she says something at one point about like, oh, straight woman's fantasy. And I was like, oh, she's gay, but why didn't they ever confirm that? And then I rewatched it and I was like, oh, she explicitly says that she dates women in like her first scene. Got it. That was my 85% attention at work.
You missed your 85% attention missed the 25% of the movie that's gay.
I missed the confirmation, but believe me, I saw the gay subtext in the rest of it.
Thank God. I would have hated
Penny
that.
is her wife. Penny is her wife.
Oh my God. Wow. Oh, I actually really like that. That's a great happy ending storyline there. But okay.
But I feel like they get it, you know.
Let's talk a little bit about I guess okay. Speaking of Penny, let's talk about Penny and Noah's relationship, because I think that is a really, really fucked and well done part of this movie too. Like when Noah realizes that she's not the only girl there, and realizes that this is like a whole damn thing. So horrifying. And the reveal that Melissa has like lost her mind because she's lost so much of her literal self. It's so, the unfurling of how much goes into this company, I guess. I love that they've got the little devil goat thing going on there, the little black Phillip as the logo. Great demonic marketing. Love that.
But the branding, like, so important.
The brand is strong. And then he has the little fucking postcards with a picture of the girl and their name and then a little piece of undies. And I was like, how the fuck is he getting all this shit from them? But I was like, well, I guess they brought an over like a weekender bag if they went to go to his house. Oh, it's so well thought out. But another thing that in one of the articles I read, the interviews with Mimi Cave, she was saying that like getting the talking through the wall scenes right was really important, because that was another thing they wanted to leave it up to the imagination. Like you're only seeing Noah's side of things, and you know shit is bad for Penny and definitely for Melissa, but you can only imagine like how much of them has been taken, how far it's gone on. Oh God, it's just so unsettling. And I really like that scene where Penny's like was talking about how she doubted if Noah was real.
That was
a great
so
joke
sad.
Too. I thought that was really like the sad Sean Connery joke at the end was a perfect way to be like, you're super sad, but you're okay. Like you're not gonna bail on this movie. You can make it through.
Yeah. I also love that they had all that time where they were just imagining ways that Steve could die horribly. That's always fun. The tapeworm,
he deserves it.
Yeah.
And very poetic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the tapeworm to eat him and the food from the inside out, etc. Little parasite for him.
Okay, I just want to clock, because we're kind of jumping all over the place, but I don't want to miss a few things. I want to talk about the wife and all of that stuff. I want to talk about his like they're like dating while she's in captivity thing and how that progresses, and the message in the magazine and that sort of the thing. And then Avi, the ending. I don't know. What else do you guys want to bring up? I don't know where to go. I keep losing the thread of what happens at what time.
I have some discussion questions, but I also have something else to say about the talking through the walls thing before we move on.
Oh, okay.
What were you going to say, Sydney?
Oh, I want to talk about her Molly like going and finding
yeah
her and stuff.
Okay, maybe we talk
so that we can
walls.
bully Monica.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, fine. We'll talk through. Let's finish the talk through the walls thing and then move to that, because I think that makes sense. Lynn.
Then we can talk about the wife.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Take it away. Tough.
One thing I did think was a little strange about the talking through the walls thing, though, is that like it doesn't seem to take any effort to hear each other. Like they're talking pretty quietly at some point, but we never hear Steve in Penny's room or something like that. Even when he comes and gets her at one point, we just hear her like scream when she's out in the hallway. I think that is probably just like convenience for plot reasons, but I also think that could have been used super effectively. I would have loved to have heard more of Penny's thoughts on like the conversations that Steve and Noah were having and like some strategizing between them, because they do have that conversation where Noah's like, I can't believe I slept with him, and Penny's like, you slept with him? Like, I never slept with him, and I don't think anybody else ever slept with him. And I think it's implied maybe that he did sleep with at least his wife, who I think it's implied was one of the girlies at some point. Maybe Sammy, I don't know. Like, how much knowledge does Penny really have? You're having this like little grapevine moment, I guess, where the girlies who are there are passing it on to the new girlies who can continue the oral tradition or whatever. But I would have liked more about them, not just commiserating about their circumstances, but like using the information that they're getting, because they're getting information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that would have been cool for them to work together a little bit more. But I think the reason that they didn't say more is because they don't know when he can hear necessarily too. So maybe having the whole plan out there verbally might have been a little more dicey. And then also he does take Penny and do some sort of really bad surgery on her in the midst of that. And I think she was kind of out of it for a while, probably asleep for a while, and then depressed, it seemed, after that, obviously, because of whatever is happening to her.
Poor Penny.
She's a little badass though. We get to see that, at least a little redemption. That's fun.
Speaking of badasses, I want to talk about Molly, because
icon.
Well, but there's something that like I was thinking about in this movie, because like I know this movie is trying to say like a lot of things about just like kind of being a woman and stuff like that. And it really does, like, when I go out on dates, one, I share my location with like so many people, know what I mean? Like, I let everybody know, like, this is the person, this is this, like, so at least my friends like are aware of who I'm with, where I'm at. And I think women have to do that. Like, men don't do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it wouldn't occur to them.
But it doesn't occur to them
as a like necessary function of dating.
Yeah, like, you know, when we look at social media, you know, it's we're checking to see like, does this person seem normal? Like, also we're like people will stalk, but it's like just like kind of like a quick scan.
Do they have friends?
Like, what kind of things do they do? Like, when was the last time they posted? Like, oh, you have a social media, but like you haven't posted in 6 years. Like, what have you been doing? Is it bad? Are you married?
Are you married is
Molly,
the big question.
Molly immediately clocking and being like, is he married? You know what I mean?
And that
like,
she's right. Iconic. Because at that point in the movie, you're just like, no, he's just a cannibal.
So apparently, because they have that iconic line at the very, very end, which we'll talk about. But to make that land, they went back and they added that scene where they're eating the food in the park, where she brings that up. Because she was like, I wanted that. I knew I wanted that to be the ending, but I didn't think it was hitting right. So they like had it be a callback, which was really smart.
But like, also the fact that, you know, Noah isn't responding back. She sent like, somebody's texting Molly, but you know, it's not sounding right. Like, it is.
Yeah, when she sends that heart.
She's texting like a stock photo that you can just Google search. Like, she immediately knows. And it's like, you can't go to the cops because they're not gonna take you seriously, realistically. And so like, it is on Molly to figure it out. And she does, which ends up putting herself in danger.
Yeah.
But she ends up the bartender who she used to hook up with, Paul, she's like, I'm gonna share my location with you, like, if something goes wrong, like, come find me. And he eventually does, and then he's like,
sort of,
fuck this, like, I'm out. Which, great that this isn't a male savior movie, but also like, men are useless.
Yeah, and like, It's
His line
complicated.
though was so
Yeah.
funny. He was like, "You know what happens if you stay? What happens to you if you stay here?" And I'm like,
Oh, that
And
was
"He's
it's
so
aware
funny.
of the tropes."
It's so funny also that whole plot line was included just for it to not amount
Go
to
anywhere.
anything. Because scaredy cats who bail also need representation in horror movies. And that's so important.
He was like
But
gets there. He's like, honestly, how well do I know this girl? Like that's the vibe.
that he hears gunshots and turns around is why he's like canceled in terms of being a love interest for Molly for me by the end. That's why part of why Penny is her wife and Paul is a side note in their story. But I also like, what was he supposed to do? Stay there and die? You know what I mean? I think it sucks, but also like,
They figured it out.
But also,
Yeah.
the whole point of this conversation was Monica share
To
your
volley Monica.
location.
Yeah,
with
Monica
Sydney
share
and
your
Chelsea
location with us.
2022.
Sydney and I have our locations on for each other constantly. It's never turned off. I can always just check and see where she is if I want to. Monica refuses.
Monica, you could die in a bike ravine, and we could.
Monica, what if you got in a bike accident?
When I go bike riding, I share my location for the day with Adam for the day. That's it.
Not us.
Not you, with Adam.
Wow.
This is so fucking rude.
Wow, it's like it's like we don't even have a podcast together, Monica. It's like
God.
we don't have a podcast together.
Sydney, you're usually not this hypey about this, and it's usually just Chelsea, but it's because you guys want this so bad that I won't give it to you.
That's the meanest thing you could say.
I said exactly that to Adam earlier today about this.
That's bullying.
About to be
The
mad at me.
temporary location sharing is honestly worse.
But okay, there is, if I do ever go missing, there's one person who has my location at all times, and it's Aline, and I don't remember giving it to her, but she has threatened my life if I take it away, and I'm scared of her. So that's the only reason that she has
That
it.
is
I know
so
she could kill me if
unfair.
she needed to.
I could kill you if I needed to.
We'll see.
I could kill you if I needed to.
Sydney could kill me, but you're farther away, so I could fly.
I could do a murder if I needed to, if the situation called for it.
Oh my God.
How dare
Wait,
you?
Before we get too far away from the movie, though, I get it. I accept your criticisms, and I'm thinking about it, but it's not going to happen. But I will say that, Molly is doing her darndest to save the day here. But God, it was a risk to call the number while still in the house, and he is between you and the door. When Steve was between her and the door, I was like, babe, you gotta get
She should have been like, if she was where the door, like Steve was next to the door and he was like behind her. But also too, like, why would you suspect that the wife was in on it?
She really put her faith in that
That's
wife,
not
unfortunately.
very feminism of the wife, quite frankly.
No, seriously. And there's a whole conversation to be had about that.
And let's have it right now. Let's have it right now, because like, it's so complicated. The information that we have about the wife is, first of all, that she's wearing a wig, but that's not a plot point. That's just an observation. But she is married to him. She's like covering for him. She hits Molly in the head for him. So she's clearly in on things enough, or willing to cover for him enough, at that point. And then you see that she has a prosthetic leg, and has one of her legs removed below the knee. And I think it's pretty implied. I think you could certainly make the argument for a different background story, but I think it's pretty implied just based on the way that he behaves with some of the girlies like Sammy Akbari and Noah, that she was also a previous girly in the house that he allowed to move out of the house in a way that I think he was maybe like sort of vaguely considering for Noah, you know what I mean? And I wonder if that's part of why at the end the wife has like so much anger, you know what I mean? Because the wife is like so stone cold the whole time. And the only time we see her being emotional is when she's like pretending as though she like was just freed from the house just now, being like, "Oh my God, we're free! I can't believe we're free!" Until she attacks Noah. And
like, girl, you look way too done up to have just been
Yeah.
held captive. But anyway,
Yeah.
continue.
And also, like, Noah had clothes most of the time. Noah was in a hospital gown right after he took her ass. And so I don't know like how long she needed to be in the hospital gown. But Molly and Penny are both in hospital gowns at the end. They haven't been given clothes to wear, their own or someone else's. Unlike Noah. But I don't know. I wasn't sure. I definitely did not want her to try and kill Noah. But I'm not sure what I did want for her necessarily. You know what I mean?
I didn't know what could have, I don't know what would have made me happy. I wasn't super happy with her doing that, but there's also a part of me, because he is a plastic surgeon. I didn't get a long enough look at the picture of Sami Akbari that we see. Is that's who wrote in the magazine, right?
Yeah. Oh, I don't think that's.
Yeah,
if that's where you're going.
I wasn't sure if that was her, because there's also that part, and I don't know why, but there's that part where she's looking in the mirror and she's like holding her face. And I was like, she's holding her face like it's not her face for some reason. Like, I feel like she, like, because he's a plastic surgeon. I mean, the only way really that he could make it so she could come back into the world is make her look completely different, otherwise someone might find her, I mean, it's a risk. And they're posting pictures online. She's posting pictures on Facebook.
But also, like, he seems to be targeting women who, for the most part, don't have anyone to come looking for them. So I think in a way she could maintain her original name and identity and re-enter society, because like if it's just a job that's looking for her or just a friend that was looking for her, it's like, you can do lies or whatever and be like, I just fucking hated your guts. You know what I mean? Like, I think she is who she says she is. But you're right. It was very like plastic surgeon's wife, the way she was holding her face, because to me it was like, should I get a facelift vibes? But obviously she doesn't need one. Her skin is like very tight and taut, but I'm sure she's comparing herself. She knows that he was like seeing this girl Noah from Molly, and like she might assume that it's the same as it always is, or she might have already gotten the vibes that like something is wrong and this is different.
Well, I think that could be a part of it for sure, but I also think that could have been a moment with her like grappling with how deep she really is into helping him, because I would imagine on the day-to-day she's not part of the abductions. That would make it more of a giveaway if there was a woman involved and it was like couples abducting people. The way he does it, I think, is a little more discreet. So I don't think that she'd be a part of that. She obviously is complicit in it because she knows about it and she knows all about it. But like she actually bopped Molly on the head. So I think that could have been a moment with her, especially her being like, I'm going to take a shower and like have her like alone time. And she's looked like sad in the shower. I think that was probably her grappling with like being hands-on with it. But then that's why you're not sure what's going to happen at the end. It's smart that they did that because it makes it seem like, oh, maybe she's a little like wiggly on it, wishy-washy on it. But at the end, she's like, no, I'm doubling down for my man,
I guess that's my question. Is it for her man? Because I don't know.
Probably her family too.
Yes. Yeah. That's my thing. Is because
I
was
like that actually.
Is it Stockholm syndrome, or is she like seizing this like willingly, consciously? You know what I mean? Because I think I like it more. She had like we didn't see any emotion from her towards Steve at any point other than being like, why aren't you coming home? Where are you? When are you gonna be home? But right after that scene in the mirror where she's doing the face thing, they do so many interesting things with mirrors in this movie. I'll do a social post about it. But they do so many interesting things. And in that moment, you see them like kind of just out of frame, but you see their reflections in the two separate mirrors in front of the vanities. And it's showing them like very much in their own frame, separated. And then he comes over to her and he like grabs her and he holds her face. And he's very much coming to her, coming into her space. She doesn't like adjust her body at all. She doesn't turn towards him. She doesn't lean into him. He is just like taking control of her body and stepping into her space. So to me, it's like, does she know that she has to play along because she can be replaced? Does she know that she can be turned into meat at any time? Does she care about him? Or does she like that she has this fancy life in a doctor's house? They have two very nice houses, although I doubt she spends much time at the other one. But she's got kids now too. You know what I mean? Even aside from the loving, protecting, doing anything for your children, is she just like, I like being a rich bitch and I don't really care how I got here. And also I know that at any moment you can be trapped in somebody's basement getting your leg chopped off. So yeah, I'm going to stay where I am now. Thanks.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a combination of a lot of those different things, but I don't necessarily think it's fear motivated because I was just thinking about it logistically. She has so many opportunities to leave while he's gone for hours and hours and hours, and she could take the kids and she could go, you know? So if it was that, she could have done that a long time ago. So I think that it's a mixture of like Stockholm syndrome and, you know, maybe a myriad of some of the things that you just mentioned. But that was a surprise for me that she came back in that way at the end, but it was interesting. I love to have a decapitation. You know, it's always fun.
Molly deserved that.
Molly deserved that. You're the problem.
You are the problem.
So funny. But okay, we got to get to the meat and potatoes of this movie.
No.
Also, like the
wait,
you're saying meat cute.
Stop it.
Meat cute. Someone else has made that joke before me, but I'm making it now.
Sure. I think it is fucked up that he's doing his whole thing about like women taste better and fear and stress is bad for your body and the taste or whatever. And then he's just like, here, eat pizza and mashed potatoes and cookie. Like, why is he not serving them good meals that are good for their taste or whatever? I wanted to see more strategy on that front from him.
Chelsea, having fat marbled in meat is really delicious. That's why he's doing that.
I just want to know his strategy and I want to know why he's not being more thoughtful about it. If this is your $30,000 steak industry, you'd think, although I guess maybe he's like, you're not going to get human meat from anywhere else. I don't have to do anything to make it special. You're going to take what you get because you're not getting it from anyone else.
I would like to know some background on Steve and how he got into this business in the first place.
He just was curious one day.
Do you think he killed someone? And then he was like, he was like, oh, this whole dead person is right there. I might as well eat them. Like, how did he come across that? Because the story was very vague that he gave.
Right. And like, how did he find buyers? The internet, Twitter, Reddit? Like where?
The dark web.
That's so vague.
The dark web.
Well, I also don't know how much we can trust what he says because he's like, I was a normal kid. I had friends. I had a normal life. And I do not believe him.
No, you see that music video scene while he's chopping up the leg? He's a freaky freak. I love that scene, by the way. I love that they go full music video in the middle of this. Like, I love it. Mimi is bringing what she knows. We got DJ Beetroot's entire music video in the middle of Get Duke. We get Sebastian Stan's this time. We also get it a little bit more. This was so fucked up. Just really quick before I forget, that juxtaposition between the wife in the shower when she's just taking off her prosthetic leg and immediately cuts to Sebastian Stan like super muscular, flaunting, running with two legs. Like, yeah, exactly. Flaunting, like all of that. That was so jarring and well done. But I want to talk about the food in this movie because they really fucking thought that shit out. they did like she brings up Hannibal actually in this interview, because Hannibal always made the food look really really delicious, but this is a
Mm-hmm.
quote from Mimi Cave. She designed all the dishes with a chef to make them look real enough and familiar enough and to be recognizable, but to have just a tinge of bizarreness to them, to feel like, wait, does it look appetizing? Just questionable. And so they got really creative with the ingredients. They'd add glisten to certain things and add a certain color to a dish. And they went through a lot of food auditions, which I love, and iterations of different dishes to make it happen. And it's so true because like the food does look good, but there's something that feels wrong. Like the red of the meatball, like the red of the marinara sauce on the meatball in the first meal that Noah has with him, like something about that, it feels too much like blood to me. But it also still, like, I love pasta, so it looks a little bit appetizing. um and the pate, I think that might be where they added the glisten. The pate was like so shiny, I was like, "Ugh." But what really drives it home, I think it's the combo pack of this incredibly well thought out food design plus the fucking
Stop it.
mouth sounds the
Ugh.
entire time. Like, wow, we've gotten so many great sound design films in the last couple of weeks of the pod, like with Invasion of the Body Snatchers and now this. Like, from the very beginning of this movie, they've amped up the mouth sounds from the beginning. Adam clocked it immediately, and I didn't, but he was like, "Why is it so loud when she's like eating those cherries? Why is it so loud when they're eating the like Thai food at the beginning, even,
And the
or
shot of
whatever?"
Paul like biting into the burrito or whatever.
Yes, like it's so visceral. So I'll say that this movie isn't necessarily bloody or gruesome or anything like that, but it's like just visceral the way that everything comes out. Ugh, God. Plus, okay, sound design for the mouth sounds and just like the scoring is really really awesome and bizarre,
Mm-hmm.
and disorienting.
Did you read
And
the Hollywood Reporter article about the music?
I didn't finish that one, but I did read that one, and I loved how much thought went into the soundtrack because it really is like a really fun soundtrack, one that you would revisit for sure. But what else did you take away from that article?
I loved how they kind of picked the songs for the dancing scenes in particular to sort of
Mm-hmm.
parallel each other and like bring you back into that same vibe. They also talked about um in a Collider article that was an interview with Sebastian Stan and Daisy Edgar-Jones. They talked about like the choreography of the dance scene or the lack of the choreography in the first
Mm-hmm.
dance scene. The first
Yes.
dance scene, they very much like leave them to sort of figure it out, both as
Mm-hmm.
characters and as like the actors making those choices themselves.
Mm-hmm.
um and then obviously the
Much more
second dance
natural
scene,
feeling at the beginning.
yeah, the second dance scene, they wanted the music to really sort of be romantic in that same way, sort of like scene setting. They picked the first song, which was by Blood Orange,
Blood
You're Not Good
orange.
Enough
You're
by
not
Blood
good enough,
Orange.
which is
Mhm.
another trigger for
You
me
know that
because
you can
I
have. Oh,
love dancing around my house to that song.
I love that song.
I
Well, they
love
picked
that
that
song.
song for that moment because it's wonderful and it's romantic. And that was an authentic moment that was really meant for you to root for the romance at that point. So I think that tone can, no, by your face,
No,
I'm judging that it's ruined regardless. So
no, I
I
still
tried to
love that
reframe for you.
song
No,
though.
it's a great
R.I.P.
song. It's not necessarily a
Um,
romantic song. It's like a breakup song, but it's like
Yeah.
fun. But
sure,
that's
the
something they
romance of
said
the
in that
moment.
article too. It was more like sonically they wanted the sounds to work, not necessarily. They didn't want to be like so on the freaking nose that the
Hmm.
lyric was like, and then I ate her arm. Like it's not gonna not gonna be that that on the nose. But yeah, like going back to the dance the choreographed dance scene at the end, for me when I watched that, like I read one article that was like we wanted it to seem like, oh, you don't really know which ways Noah's gonna go, like are they
Hmm.
actually in love, blah blah blah, or not in love, but like are they liking each other, what's happening here? But for me, I felt like because it was a choreographed dance, it was like this is a choreographed night. And Noah has this whole thing choreographed because she knows exactly what she needs to do to get under his skin this time and into his pants so she could bite off his dick.
Yeah, like their
Incredible.
visual storytelling was like they're in sync. Are they partners? And you're right. I think another read of it is no, this is a performance. She's performing the whole time.
Yes.
And part of her moment, when you think for a moment, is she losing the performance? Is she genuinely touched by the fact that he cooked for her? For a moment, you're not sure when she's crying, and then she turns it into, it is just so nice and I feel awful because I don't feel awful. I think that's also actually a callback to his explanation, because when she's first asking him about it and he says, I was 18 or 19, it wasn't an overnight thing. At first, I was actually horrified. I mean, how could I possibly be capable of doing something like this? You know, as a normal kid, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he goes into the, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I looked further and there are people like me. And she's playing on that both with, I feel awful because I don't feel awful. So being like, I am intrigued by this, but I know it should be horrifying, the same way that he described his experience. And also he kept being like, we're the same. You're fucked up just like me, which is why I also don't believe him when he was like, I was normal. And it's like, no, you weren't. You were
normal,
not.
but you were killing kitties in your free time. There's no way that you weren't.
Yeah. But I think she's really like tapping into that and being like, we're the same. I'm just like you. She plays it really well,
She's
whether
so
that was
smart.
like her plan the whole time to be like, I'm having an emotionally vulnerable moment with him, or if she genuinely lost it and was like, here's how I reclaim this moment.
Well, you know that she was going to be doing some sort of acting shit, because when she's getting there, have that moment or that scene where it's cutting between Steve and Noah getting ready for that date. And there's that part where she's just like looking in the mirror and she's like looking wistful, looking smiley, looking like she would be looking into someone's eyes, like, but you know, she's looking in the mirror. And so she's just practicing looking like that.
Okay, I want to say that's really interesting, but I want to say something about the mirror things for a second, because with that in mind, I think what's interesting, I'd have to go back and watch it like a third time, I guess, to really double check for this. But I think most of the time when we see her in the mirror, we only see her in the mirror and maybe like a little blurry wisp of her, or we see just her and like her not really in the mirror at all. We see Sebastian Stan and his double in the mirror very clearly at so many points. And I think that's very like the two sides of him, and his like dual motivations. And with her, there's just one her, but sometimes she's like putting on this performance. Is my film cinema blah 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 film major literature analysis take.
Professional film critic Chelsea Duff. No, but I think that's spot on. That's a really cool take. What was I gonna say? Words. Oh, I love all of her jokes where she's making all these like cringe jokes about all of the women, like trying to make it like it's chill. Oh, like when she's like, oh, that's so boring. Like it's this delicious pate and its name's Melissa. I was like, you know, Melissa.
Don't do that to Melissa. Yeah.
Don't do that to Melissa. And she's like, I thought she'd be named Joy. I'm like, oh god.
That was funny.
He's
that one got me. But when she was
God.
like, the you saved the breast for last, at that point, I was like, no. And I sent an angry picture of myself to Monica.
Also, it's just so fucking fucked up that he cut off Molly's boobs and fed them to her and said, oh, this might even taste familiar. Like, what? Did she think she was sucking on Molly's titties? Just wondering. Gay subject. But that was just super fucked up.
I think it's super
it's
interesting.
All fucked up, but
yeah. I think it was super interesting that was left implied and not like explicitly mentioned at any point, because I felt like it was an interesting choice, that we don't necessarily see any. Most of the meat that we see and most of the meat that we see get consumed does not belong to any characters that we explicitly meet. Like, we do hear Melissa singing at one point, but we only ever see the photo of her. And I think like if they'd been like, this is Penny's leg, like this is Noah's ass, like explicitly like this is Molly's boob, like would we have been able to handle that as the audience? Would that have been too horrifying to be like, this is a character that we know and this is their body part?
I think also it's I think partly, well, okay, there's two sides because when he's with her, he obviously like likes her, and if he's trying to get her to likes her a little bit, in some way, shape, or form, whatever he's capable of. And I think that he's smart enough to know that if he was like, this is Penny's nipple, like she'd fucking freak out, even if she's trying to be chill about it. You're trying to edge someone into cannibalism. Sweet God, what a phrase. You gotta do it with tact. But yeah, no, I think that as an audience, we could have seen like in that frozen the freezer where there are all the body parts, which I loved that. And when
there was a full ass torso in there, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that's what he takes the torso, and then he goes outside and he's cutting ribs with a freaking chainsaw. Oh my God, it was so gross. Like, because there is some gore in this, but it's not blood and the meat at the same time, and so it separates it. I think that something about cannibalism fucks people up a little bit more, so I think she wanted to be a little more tactful, and again, not cutting up women just for funsies. I appreciate that.
That said, I'm not sure how I feel about I felt like, okay, I'm not sure how to articulate myself. I think probably it was a good choice not to show anybody's missing body parts necessarily, like not to show Molly's missing tit or Noah's missing ass. But also, I a little bit felt like it was a glaring absence. You know what I mean? Like, not to see it getting cut off, but to like not see the lack of it at any point.
Like on the people.
Yeah. I guess I didn't feel the same way because I liked that it was all like left up to your imagination. Like for me, I was like looking at her butt in the dress and I was like, is it like, how is it different? I don't know, because I feel like if they did that, they'd have to do more of that. And so I don't feel like they could do like a little bit of that type of gore and not a lot of it of that type of gore, So it was like zero, all or nothing.
Yeah, me. And like,
and so it was more nothing.
If she's still healing, he's not going to put her in like tight jeans or whatever anyway. Like the loose dress might have been part of the, we can't put you in anything tight anyway, regardless of like, for the purposes of filming a movie, we want to hide that your ass is not actually gone. And I thought it was like very effective when we see her peeing at one point, that you see her underwear and like that there's blood in there from her or whatever from her healing wounds. And I think when they first do dinner, there's like this weird shot of the back of the chair that seems to imply that it is like a cushy chair. Maybe it has like,
she's sitting on one of those like
donut things.
Thank you. Couldn't think of the word. Yeah. I don't know. Sydney, queen of fake blood, were you mad? Like, what did you think?
I think there could have been more. And part of it, because like this is a horror movie, I think like they could have gone a little bit more gore forward, just like
sure.
A
gore
smidge.
word, if you will. Yeah,
gore word. I want some gore word,
Yeah. I could see it that way, but I still really I just really liked it though. I loved all the choices that they made. I liked that they made an unconventional choice in doing that, because it's kind of like they make a lot of unconventional choices in this movie, and so it kind of fits the theme.
Seeing the thigh with the bone poking out, I don't even know what body part it was at another point where he's like slicing off little bits to nibble on. But you can see like part of a tattoo on the skin.
Oh, that was like fucking prosciutto. That was like a jamon
Ugh.
iberico of somebody's, I don't even know what part of their body, maybe their thigh. I thought
I
that
have no
was
idea,
so fucking funny because
he's
like
doing
in
a little
Spain, that's what
snack.
yeah, well, in Spain, like people have like a jamon iberico, just like a whole fucking leg sitting on the counter. It's a beautiful. I want one, but I don't have enough counter space, and it's also so expensive. One of our friends actually got one of those as their Christmas present from their sibling. So I'll tell you after. But anyway, like it's just so funny that it's just like exactly like it's in the same like mechanism that holds it up, but it's like a human's fucking leg, and the only reason you can tell the difference is because of that tattoo. Like I love it. It's all so funny. Like I get that. I get why you were like feeling like you were telling me this feels like wiggly under your skin. Like this movie made you feel like wiggly. I was like giddy watching this movie. I was like hysterically giddy laughing the whole time. Adam had to stop the movie, take a walk around the living room because it was like freaking him out so much. But I just thought it was so funny. All these little details. Anyway, maybe I'm a psychopath.
Maybe. But I have one more discussion question that I want to ask, and then I think we should move into our segments. But that first dinner, she asked if she is eating herself, if she's eating her ass. And I guess my question to you is, in such a position, would you rather eat your own ass or would you rather eat meat from somebody else's body? Because I think I'd rather eat my own ass.
That is
I don't want to eat
such a hard
myself.
Question.
I think I would be more capable of living with the knowledge that I had done cannibalism if it was my own and I could, to some degree, consent in that way than to be like, I ate another person and I ate somebody who was kidnapped against their will and I ate blah, you know what I mean?
I think I would rather drink my own pee but eat somebody else.
Kesha style?
Yeah.
I mean, because when I think about it, like I've had like a hangnail, like a skin one, and I've bit it off and I've swallowed it. So like I've kind of already started with that. So maybe that would be okay. But the thought of for some reason, it is truth and law to me that if you eat yourself, you go insane. Like something like hormonally makes you lose your mind. Because this is so random. I watched some movie, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, where there's a chicken as a pet and they were feeding it chicken. And everyone was like, that's so fucked up that you're feeding this chicken. But when I was a little kid, I thought that they were feeding.
That's the Social Network.
No, it's not. It's from way longer ago. I trust. It was not the Social Network.
They do something similar in the Social Network.
But when I was a kid, I thought that they were taking the chicken and cutting off part of the chicken and cooking it and then feeding it to the chicken. So I was like absolutely fucking horrified by this like little joke part of a movie, and it scarred me for life. And so anyway, it is my belief that if you eat yourself, you'll go insane. Couldn't tell you if it's true or not. But before we go into our segments, I just want to give a little shine to the very bitter end. I thought that was an epic action sequence. I love the use of a meat cleaver in any scenario. I love the use of a dumbwaiter as a little surprise.
Yes! Oh, so good.
I love
the second
that
it was
so
introduced,
much.
It was Chekhov's gun. You know what I mean? You had to see it come back into play at some point, and I loved how they used it.
And the first time I watched this movie, I was like, why didn't they just go and like beat the ever-loving shit out of his head while he was down so they make sure that he's dead? But Molly was the one who meat cleaved him in the head, and she doesn't have like a huge range of motion right now because her titties just got chopped off. And so that makes sense to me. And I was like, also, heat of the moment, things are crazy. It's fine. But I do really love that. But one more thing I want to talk about before the end is that one of our listeners, Roxanne, shout outs to Roxanne, brought this up to me. And we were talking about the movie after I watched it. And she was like, oh yeah, like all these people are saying they set this up for a sequel. And I was like, what? Like, okay. And the reason that I didn't understand is because I paused the movie as soon as Heads Will Roll started playing, even though I fucking love that song. So I missed that tiny little scene that's in the credits. Did you guys see it?
I actually
No.
saw your message with Roxanne, so I went looking to see what was being discussed. And
Wow, I thought that was private. No, I'm kidding.
I like to snoop. And that should not be a surprise to anybody. But I think that scene, I mean, there's so much material for a sequel, you know what I mean? There was that guy who was like working with Anna and Brendan Steve, who, you know, the business has got to keep businessing. Those buyers are gonna want their product.
So much money, and they've set up the reason that I think a sequel is a possibility. But there's only one specific way that I would accept it. But like they set up so much lore, right?
Yes,
they have like
the branding.
The branding, they have like when he's out chainsawing that fucking chest cavity, they show the Black Phillip like engraved into like this old ass thing, so it makes it seem like there's like history and
that it's like maybe satanic sort of, or culty a little bit.
It has like a fucking pentagram. All these dudes, these unknowable dudes, have these different weird rituals around the way that they eat these women. And then you see that they're all together in this little scene at the end.
Also, the plate has the Black Phillip on it too.
It has the Black Phillip, and then at the end they're all at a round table with all that meat stacked up and the blood spreading out of it.
And I'd be willing to bet there's 5 of them, pentagram style.
Yeah. So the only way that I would accept a sequel to this film, if it is a Kill Bill style revenge movie with Penny, Molly, and Noah going out to find every single one of those motherfuckers and killing them one at a time.
That would be so fucking fun.
That is the only way that I would accept it. And I think that would also actually be a really good movie, and that Mimi Cave would knock it out of the park. Also, I think Adam might have given me this idea, and so I want to give him that shine, but I really don't remember but because I watched this like right after it came out, so don't remember. But it was probably him. So shouts to Adam. But either way, it's gotta, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I'm actually here for that.
I don't know if they were like, if that teased a sequel necessarily, but I definitely think there's enough material for a sequel. There's enough going on in the background, enough lore set up to be like, this is a whole fucking thing. And enough loose ends, not just with the 3 of them escaping. And they never saw that other guy who came with the wife.
Where did he go?
Although, like, how are they going to get away? I don't know if they're going to like take his car or what, you know what I mean? So I guess
they're gonna get out of there.
they're gonna get out of there for sure. I have faith, but like I don't know what that would look like. Like, are they gonna call an Uber? You know what I mean? Or probably the cops. Probably the cops. But yeah, there's room for them to have enough time to be like, this is we know this is a 1% of the 1%. We know it's a larger thing. We know it's like a cannibalism ring, essentially. And if they had to go back into the house or look around at all, they certainly could get access to a lot more of that info.
Totally. Yeah,
I would love a Kill Bill style revenge plot. That'd be such a blast.
I challenge you to make a Kill Bill style sequel.
That would be so great, because Andrea Bang from Kim's Convenience is so wonderful. I had never seen the actress who plays Molly, Jojo T. Gibbs, in anything before, I don't think. And I also hadn't seen Daisy Edgar-Jones, but they had great chemistry, the 2 of them. Noah had good chemistry with Penny. Penny and Molly had good chemistry. Like I said, they are wives. Like, they barely meet, and yet somehow at the end they're like helping each other. She carries her. That's romance.
That's okay. We've unspokenly gone into how could it be gayer. Continue.
And this is now how could it be gayer, and it's in the Kill Bill style sequel. It is also a romance for Molly and Penny.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also great that this movie just already is got some queer representation. And we love that Molly is bisexual. And I'm sorry, Molly, that I didn't notice that you were bisexual in the first one. I thought
I
you
also
were
think,
lesbian.
yeah, I think it's kind of nice that Molly is bisexual, and yet we only see her romantically involved with a guy. Because I think so often when you have bisexual characters in media, they have to be not have to, but they are usually shown in a same-sex relationship to be like, see, they're not just straight. And I like that we're at the point
Yeah.
where you can show them just with a guy and still be like, but they're bisexual.
Yeah, totally. No, I like that. I like that too. Ugh, yeah. I just want, this isn't the right time to say this, but I didn't say it earlier. And I just wanted to say that the only reason that this would never have happened to me is that when presented with an empty fridge in my house, I would have ordered takeout. I never would have gone to the store in the evening. That is the only reason I would have not been in this scenario. That is the only reason. I would have been like, okay, how long? I can wait 30 minutes. Caviar, pull it up. But okay, where would Maddie Lily fit into this wondrous film?
One of those freaks eating people, one of the really rich guys.
Yeah.
I would want him to be in the Kill Bill style sequel as one of the freakity freaks. He would have a crazy unhinged monologue with human blood running out of his mouth, and it would be horrifying.
Incredible. He would crush it. Absolutely crush it.
Yeah. Mimi, we're writing this for you.
Mimi, we would love to be
Mimi?
consultants.
Mimi.
I love that her name is Mimi Cave is like a badass name.
Yeah.
10 out
Oh,
of
it's
10. She's
such a
got cool
badass.
bangs also. Great. She's my hero.
All people with bangs are cool. No.
True. Sorry. Chelsea, you're cool because you have pink hair. Anyway. Next that brings us to the dumb bitch. And I feel like I'm so sorry to be rude to a whole group of people, but like I feel like anyone who is a cannibal is a dumb bitch.
I think that's fair. I think there's probably like you said, chicken eating chicken, it seems bad. You know what I mean? It seems like there should
chicken's
be
gonna go
things
crazy.
in our bodies where if you're only eating that meat, like your levels of something are going to be off the charts. Seems like it would be a medically bad decision. But also I think Steve deserves his own nomination because he really was falling for Noah's shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How do you, as a woman kidnapping cannibal, allow a woman to put your dick in her mouth? You know what I mean? How do you think that
And not
being
think.
so vulnerable, your dick in her mouth, you are going to kill her? You've told her you're going to kill her. You took her ass already. How do you not consider that could go poorly for you?
He just thinks he's that sexy. That's how high a regard he holds himself in, that he thinks he's that sexy and alluring and amazing. It's very similar to Chad, actually, where he
Oh my
thinks
God,
he's
the stupid
that
text at the
awesome.
end, that little bitch.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, I
And he
hated
can
that.
still be like, you up? No, Chad, I'm not
No,
up.
Chad. I don't have an ass anymore, Chad.
Chad, I'm
Leave
never
me
up for
alone.
you, okay?
But yeah, no, he just thinks the sun shines out of his goddamn ass. So he's like, yeah, she's 100%. She ate she ate her best friend's titty. She ate Melissa's liver. She ate whoever the fuck's other meatball. And now she's mine.
I'm not giving her an official nomination because it would be rude, but like, Noah, girl, why are you going away with this man so soon? You know, like,
she was having one fucking
really
moment.
got caught up in the romance.
Still, like, when that happened,
I
started screaming at my television, like, girl, no, like, you've gotta, like, that's a couple months in that you go on a weekend. Like, you could do like a day thing that's like in the same city or like one city over, but like a sleepover thing on your third date where he's not telling you where you're going.
Oh, and then he like perfectly disarms her by being like, "Oh, I'll ruin the surprise," and like tells her right away
As
where it is
soon
in the
as
car.
they don't have cell service too. Like, No, sorry. Like, I need to know where it is because I need to read all the restaurant menus that we're going to make sure that I can eat something. Okay. Like, that would just never fly with me. Like,
I love a surprise, but I mean, that's very quick. That is very, very quick.
I'm
But-
all for being spontaneous and doing that, but like,
She thought she bagged a doctor.
I was
doctors
so
are more scary
excited.
because they know how to kill people. Like, so sorry about that.
True.
Like,
know
I
how to save
like-
lives and take them away.
Also,
Yeah,
she
like,
never
no big
got his
deal.
last name. So, like, how are you? You know, he's not on social media, but you don't even want to Google the guy. I would
Right?
Google. I love to stalk online.
Yeah, it's like, hey, can you give me your social security number real quick?
I
Just real quick.
I somehow try and always sneak a look at their driver's license on
Mm.
like the first date or two.
Nice.
make a
Smart.
quick scan and then
Mhm.
continue on.
Yeah, but she doesn't even. She gives him her number in the grocery store. She doesn't even know his name at that point. It's only when he's leaving that he's like, "Okay, Noah, I'm Steve, by the way."
Right? Like,
Yeah.
be a little bit more due diligent.
Obviously,
Yeah.
not her fault. But she really lets her guard down with him, and it leads to disaster. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I
That's
mean,
what I'm
this is
saying,
just one
like,
of the
not a
plights of
dumb
healthy
bitch,
living.
But a girl, baby.
This
you
is
know
one of the
better.
plights of healthy living. If she had just ordered the cheeseburger
Uh-huh.
on
As I will
DoorDash.
tonight. I'm not going to the store tonight after we record. Are you kidding? I'm gonna get delivery,
Absolutely not.
and
No
I'm gonna
one would
get enough
ever
leftovers for
expect that.
days.
My delivery got canceled earlier today, and then Adam was like, "Oh, we can just cook something." I was like, "What?" When I was expecting delivery?
I'm committed to not cooking something now, so we're gonna have to revisit that plan.
We're gonna have to figure something else out. Anyway, I had to record. But anyway, it's time for Knives Out of 5. So, Chelsea, what do people think about this? I guess they're still thinking their thoughts because it's still pretty fresh.
Yeah. Oh,
Everything's
nice.
a pun. I'm so sorry.
No, I don't think you need to apologize for that one. To me, that one was spot on, and I liked it.
Thank you.
But on IMDb, this movie got 6.7 out of 10. And then on Rotten Tomatoes, critics gave it 81%, which is fresh, and audiences gave it 83%, also fresh.
Oh, good.
Good that fresh is rated fresh twice over.
Fresh.
For fresh, yeah.
I too think it's fresh. I think that fresh is fresh.
I agree. I thought it was really upsetting, hard to watch at some points, but good. I thought there was like really amazing cinematography. The music was great. My questions and complaints are mostly resolved just by like, it's a movie. You know what I mean? There's only so much
Mhm.
space. Not everyone's going to make the same artistic choices or creative choices that you would make. Things that you think would be great for a movie are not necessary for a movie. So I don't really have many notes that I feel they should have taken. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. What would you think you'd give it?
I think for me, I don't know that I like loved it enough to do 5 knives because watched it twice, pretty upsetting. Don't know that I'll watch it a third time, although I really liked it. That said, I'm 100% in for Kill Bill sequel. But I do think it was really, really good. So I would probably give it like a 4.9 knives out of 5s.
Yeah, this movie spooked me in like a way that I haven't like been spooked recently, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
the filming was great. I thought Sebastian Stan and Daisy, what's her something Jones?
Daisy Edgar-Jones.
Daisy Edgar-Jones. I thought they were like incredible in it. Like
Agreed.
they had great chemistry, even though you were like rooting, like you were rooting for them, and then you were like, oh no, but also like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5.
That's great. Yeah,
Nice.
I think I'm right there with you, Chelsea, with a 4.9. Like, I could have maybe used a little bit more splashes of a little bit more blood every
Mhm.
now and again. I maybe could have lost the confusing mom slash wife thing because I just don't know how to feel about that. But I do still like that it happened. I like that it's complicated. I mean, something like
liked
this. A
that she had-
cannibalism ring is complicated naturally.
I like that she had a
Um,
thin blue line post on her Facebook page to really be like, she's the villain. So,
Oh no.
Oh, I totally missed that. That actually would have been very informative for the rest of the movie for me,
Mhm.
and I totally missed that.
yeah.
Wow.
Although again, if you're
That
doing
changes it.
crimes, you probably want to be like, I love the police. Don't investigate me.
True.
Eh.
Yeah,
So it could
go
just be
either way.
strategy. But also, I
But yeah.
think probably she's just a villain.
But yeah, like for me, I had a blast. And I just want to say that like 2022 has been banger season for horror. I
Yes.
cannot speak to 2021 because I didn't do a good job of watching horror movies in 2021. I watched a lot of horror movies, but not
Yeah.
many that came out in 2021. Like when we were on Cinemen's
Mhm.
top 10 or whatever for 2021, we had a hard time. Also, shouts out to Cinemen.
The
We were
Cinnamon
on
podcast.
The Cinnamon podcast. You should check out their 2021 wrap up episode. We were on it. Or Chelsea was on it for the three of us.
Speaking for the crew. Yeah.
Speaking for the crew. But yeah, I mean, this has been a banger year so far. Like this movie just
Scream.
I Scream X. Like I just want to say that like I am so enamored with all of these like fresh, exciting new takes on horror movies, like just doing something different. Like this is very different. Like the way it looks, the way it feels, like the music, it's super modern and it's done so well. I really, really loved it. I can't wait to see what Mimi does next. Like I really fucking can't wait to see. And then yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I think we've got more bangers coming out the rest of this year. Not to shit on the classics. I also loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. So
But speaking of classics, Sydney, would you like to talk about our next movie?
Okay, so we are throwing it way, way back. And I mean, black and white back.
It's in black and white.
They have a colorized version and it's streaming free on Amazon Prime. Don't watch it. You must watch the black and white. You need to rent the black and white version. It is so much better.
Okay.
And that is it House on Haunted Hill? Yes.
Yeah.
It's the 1959 Vincent Price movie. And he is, horror royalty. And this movie is so fun and y'all are gonna absolutely love it. Have y'all seen it?
Okay.
Ooh,
No.
no, I've never seen it. And I've never seen anything with Vincent Price. So
Oh my god,
I
this is a
only know-
great intro to Vincent Price.
Okay. I only know that
I'm
we like
really stoked.
mentioned it on our 13 Ghosts episode, and whatever I said at the time was wrong. So I'm excited to learn more and correct the
Can't wait
record,
to
but also
learn.
possibly just not acknowledge that and move forward.
You just have to watch the black and white one. Like
Sure.
eventually you
Okay.
can watch the color one, but the first time you see it, it has to be the original black and white one.
Okay.
all right. I'm excited. I'm very excited. I haven't watched a black and white movie in a minute, probably since The Lighthouse, which is modern.
It's our
Anyway.
first black and white movie on the pod.
It is.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I keep thinking Ghost of Mr. Chicken was in black and white because I was back when I pulled photos from IMDb and some of them were in randomly black and white. And I just blocked out that when we watched the movie, it sure was in color.
Technicolor.
You guys,
All
I
right.
posted one photo and you guys were like, why is that in black and white? And I was like, oh, I guess I don't know.
Oops.
Who could say?
My memories are only in black and white, so I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But okay, so just to be serious, real quickly here on the pod, we at Spooky Tuesday love our listeners so much. We have amassed over 80 reviews on Apple Podcasts. I almost said something that wasn't a word. And we're so close to 100. And wouldn't that be so cool to have 3 digits in the amount of ratings or reviews that we have? I know that I would think that is very cool. And I know
I also think it would be really super cool,
And the other thing that is that the average person searching through Apple Podcasts, when they see a podcast that has more than 100 reviews, they also think that's super cool. So if you want to be a doll and give us a 5-star rating, you don't even have to write anything, but we do love that. If you want to just do the ha 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 in all caps, as we discussed last week, that's still an option, but please help us get to our goal. That we could do that on Apple Podcasts, and Spotify and Podchaser is good too. We love all of it. Also, why not follow us at spooky_Tuesday on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Honestly, Chelsea's been fucking slaying it lately. She had a very on the nose Troll 2 post about the Oscars that blew
It
me
was
away.
incredible.
It was so fucking funny. So you don't want to miss out on that sweet content. We're also at Spooky Tuesday Pod on Facebook and Tumblr, and at Spooky Tuesday on Letterboxd. And you know what? Thank you for listening. And if you have the option, please do not cannibalize anyone.
If you have the option, great advice.
Sometimes you don't.
Just maybe not, you know?
Sometimes you don't.
Sure. What a great note.
We'll leave it at
to
that.
leave it with. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Bye. You're
Hi,
not gonna say
Spookies.
it?
Yeah, where's it? Give it to us.
Did I already miss thanks for listening?
I said thanks for listening, and if you have the option,
She's
I
not
did not
commit
miss
cannibalism.
listening. Okay,
For
okay.
sure.
Bye, Spooky.
Who the hell is that? Steve's wife. What? He's married. What was married?
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at the_moon_OMG.